What's going on, guys? Minutes with Mellon. Take a long video, make it shorter. So, there's a guy in Little Rock, Arkansas, who's he ran the airport, and he was a gun enthusiast. And the ATF was giving him a search warrant. Not even an arrest warrant, a search warrant. And they broke in his house and killed him. Shot him in his head. Because he owned guns. That's crazy. So, this is like a 2-hour long video. I'm not gonna play it. But Jim Jordan, the Ohio senator, he does a really good opening. And then the Democrat who starts speaking right after him, she starts talking about Trump and his hush money trial in New York. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? That's sad.
2021 to 69 in 2022 and to 80 last year. This is exactly what the left wants. Democrats and Joe Biden have been trying to take guns away from Americans for years. If they can't take the FFLs away, they are going to limit the number. If they can't take the guns away, they're going to limit the number of places where law-abiding Americans can go purchase their firearms. Today, we will examine the actions by ATF that led to the untimely and unnecessary death of Bryan Malinowski. At this time, I want to offer my condolences to the members of Mr. Malinowski's family. Some of them are here with us today. We're also joined by Congressman Hill, who I mentioned earlier, who represents Mr. Malinowski's and his family and has sought justice on their behalf. In the early morning hours of March 19, 2024, armed ATF agents arrived at the Malinowski family home in at least 10 vehicles to execute a search warrant. According to the warrant, the ATF alleged that Mr. Malinowski was selling firearms without a license. Footage from the Malinowski's doorbell camera shows ATF agents approaching the house with riot shields and subsequently disabling the camera to prevent their conduct from being recorded. Upon hearing the commotion and fearful of a home intrusion, Mr. Malinowski awoke and prepared to defend his family. Mr. Malinowski encountered what he and his wife believed to be home intruders. An exchange of gunfire ensued. Mr. Malinowski was shot in the head, and he died from his wounds 2 days later. The circumstances of Mr. Malinowski's death raised questions about whether the ATF followed proper protocol during the execution of this search warrant. DOJ policy and President Biden's executive order 14074 requires ATF agents, including those who conducted the search warrant on the Malinowski family home, to wear active body-worn cameras during the execution of that warrant. The department, however, has since confirmed to the Malinowski family that ATF agents were not wearing body cameras during the raid, a clear violation of the department policy. It is also unclear whether ATF agents complied with Justice Department policy on no-knock entries. In explaining the rationale for this policy, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco noted that, quote, because of the risk posed to both law enforcement and civilians during the execution of no-knock warrants, it is important that this authority be exercised in only the most compelling circumstances. Furthermore, Ms. Monaco directed the use of no-knock entries should be restricted to instances in which an agent has reasonable grounds to believe that at the time of the warrant, that the warrant is sought, that knocking and announcing the agent's presence would create an imminent threat of physical violence to the agent or to another person. It's not clear if the raid was a no-knock encounter because, in part, the ATF agents disabled the Malinowski's home camera. ATF has yet to explain why it resorted to a risky pre-dawn entry of Mr. Malinowski's home when it could have peacefully executed the warrant while he was away from his residence. I think that's a huge question. But the ATF wanted Mr. Malinowski to be home when they executed the search warrant. We know ATF abandoned a previous attempt to execute the search warrant when they learned Mr. Malinowski wasn't home. They were actually primed and ready to go the week before, but didn't go because he wasn't there. Why did they need him to be in the home as this was a search warrant and not an arrest warrant. In fact, there were numerous other less dangerous options available to the ATF. The ATF knew his pattern of life. They could have chosen to wait for Mr. Malinowski to leave for work and safely approached him after he had exited his home. The ATF could have conducted the raid after Mr. Malinowski left for work and had other agents meet him at his work, where he was not allowed to carry a firearm. The ATF could have waited until he was gone and asked Mrs. Malinowski to call him back after the house was secure. ATF agents could have given Mr. Malinowski more time to answer the door during the knock and announce, so he knew it was the police. Since the ATF chose to ignore their own policy, not wear body cameras, we will never know if they gave him the 10 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever to answer the door. And tomorrow, in front of the full Judiciary Committee, Director Dettelbach will have a chance to explain the actions of the ATF. But today we look forward to hearing from our witnesses. I want to thank them all for being.
Thank you to the
She just starts talking about Trump the whole time.
Chairman. Good morning, and thank you to the calling in an anti-Semitic, anti-vax, racist conspiracy theorist who claims a worm ate part of his brain as a witness. These agencies were with more guns available to bad people, my region where I live and regulated. Instead of addressing this real problem and instead of listening to 3/4 of gun owners' sympathies, all of us, I believe, go out to the family.
That's terrible. So he finally talks to the dude and just straight up asks him, like, why did you break into his house? It's pretty fucked.
Director, you got to admit, this is a little unique. You got a citizen, the highest paid official in the municipal government, Little Rock, Arkansas, making $260,000 a year, running the airport, no criminal background history, nothing, and he's dead at a pre-dawn raid when it sure looks like you could have served this search warrant when he wasn't there, but you decided not to. You decided to wait till he was home when you did it on March 19th. And as a result, Mr. Malinowski is no longer with us.
Well, first of all, let me just say this, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, any time that there's a loss of life, that is a profound incident. And of course, on behalf of just myself, ATF, and all law enforcement, we are very sorry when those things happen. Also, an agent was shot that day, and I'm sure you are sorry that that occurred also.
Of course, all the more reason to follow the no-knock warrant, not to have a no-knock warrant take place and follow the rules.
Mr. Chairman, as somebody who has worked with law,
That's sad. He just keeps saying, I won't answer questions because it's an ongoing investigation. It's pretty fucked up. And the way they treated the wife was really fucked up too. So if you own too many guns, you will be shot. Fucking insane. I think they even show a video of it. Like, they all meet up. The ATF does. In a parking lot. They figure out, dude's not even home. So, well, we can't serve the search warrant. And they leave. Like, they wanted him to be home in order to serve it. Which is really, really weird. It's like they were literally trying to kill this dude for owning and selling too many guns. I think he only sold like maybe 9 a year. I think is what they said. It's pretty fucked up. And in other news, if you live in Washington, D.C., your kid, they're going to force your kid to get a shot and not tell you about it.
This new law, it allows children who are 11 years of age or older, so basically as long as they're at least 11 years old, to take any vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, without their parents' consent or knowledge, as long as 2 criteria are met. the vaccine has to be recommended by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, and as long as the child is, and this is a quote from the law, capable of meeting the informed consent standard, meaning essentially that they can nod their heads yes. Here's specifically what the law states. A minor shall be deemed to meet the informed consent standard if the minor is able to comprehend the need for, the nature of, and any significant risks ordinarily inherent in the medical care. Furthermore, and almost unbelievably, under this new law, the school can actually hide these vaccinations from parents. Let me just repeat that. The school has the authority to vaccinate kids in secret and then prevent parents from finding out about it. For instance, let's say that you applied for a religious exemption or you opted your kid out from taking a certain vaccine. Under this new law, your child can still decide for himself to take the vaccine, and then the healthcare provider who actually administers the vaccine, they can leave a certain part of the immunization record blank so the parents won't find out. You heard that right. The law requires that the healthcare provider should send the immunization record directly to the child's school, and then the school should keep it confidential. Furthermore, here's what the law says about insurance. Healthcare providers shall seek reimbursement without parental consent directly from the insurer, and the insurer shall not send an explanation of benefits for services provided. Meaning that the entire process can be clandestine without the parents ever finding out. Now, this new lawsuit, the one that was brought forth by the 4 parents, argues that by doing this, by allowing children to make these kinds of decisions and then hiding the facts from the parents, the law actually places the decision-making power squarely in the hands of the government. Here's another statement from the parents' lawyer, the lawyer who is representing the parents in this case. Here's what she said. The D.C. Act has dire implications for the health of children. If parents do not know their children were vaccinated at school, they may not recognize vaccine adverse reactions. Serious adverse reactions require immediate medical treatment and are contraindications to further vaccination. Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the mayor of Washington, D.C. for comment, but she has yet to get back to us.
That's insane. And what does it say about mRNA vaccines? Oh, got heart inflammation, myocarditis. We're going to force you to get a shot that kills you.
Consumers that there is a risk of developing heart inflammation. Now, this decision came after the CDC, which stands for the Centers for Disease Control, after they reported that more cases of heart inflammation, which includes either myocarditis or pericarditis, were found among young adults as well as children after they received the vaccines. In a statement released by the FDA, which is right here, I have it in my hands, they said that they will be adding some revisions to their vaccine fact sheets about, quote, the increased risks of myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle, and pericarditis, inflammation of the tissue surrounding the heart, following vaccination. Furthermore, it says that there may be an increased risk, particularly following the second dose and with the onset of symptoms within a few days after vaccination. Now, it's worth noting that this warning only applies to the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, which use mRNA technology and require 2 doses. However, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which uses an adenovirus and only requires 1 dose, is not included in this new warning. Also, the FDA commissioner, Dr. Janet Woodcock, she released a statement arguing that the risks of developing heart inflammation are outweighed by the benefits of the vaccine.
She just looks evil.
Here's what she said as a part of her statement. The risk of myocarditis.
This is false. This is a lie. Because they had to pull the other vaccine from the shelf. Because it killed more people than it saved.
And the benefits of COVID-19 vaccination continue to outweigh the risk. Now, a week ago, there have been over 1,200 cases of heart inflammation in individuals who are aged 30 years or younger after they received their vaccine doses. And based on the submissions to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is operated by both the FDA and the CDC, this rate of heart inflammation is higher than what was expected for young males. According to that data, for males between the ages of 12 and 17, the expected number of heart inflammation cases following their first vaccine dose were between 2 and 21. However, the observed number of heart inflammation cases was 32. And then, for males between the ages of 18 and 24, the expected number of cases were between 3 and 34. However, the observed number of cases was 47. Now, in terms of what the symptoms are, as well as what you should do if you're experiencing them, here's what the FDA said as a part of their statement. Quote, Vaccine recipients should seek medical attention right away if they have chest pain, shortness of breath, or feelings of having a fast beating, fluttering, or pounding heart after vaccination. The FDA and CDC are monitoring the reports, collecting more information, and will follow up to assess longer-term for comment, but we have yet to hear back. If you would like to read more about
So if you own too many guns, they're going to break your door down, shoot you. And if you got a kid and you don't want them to get the vaccine, the government is going to force your kid to do it behind your back. Yep. Burrowing deep on this one. This is pretty bad. This is like the worst I've ever seen in this country, by far. It's just getting worse and worse. Good luck.